2, 3, 4. If I could show you the way, I would shine like the sun in your eyes. If I could find the words to say the way I feel is beyond me sometimes. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. If I could show you the way, and I would shine like the sun in your eyes. If I could find the words to say the way I feel is beyond me sometimes. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. If I could show you the way, and I would shine like the sun in your eyes. If I could find the words, to say the way I feel is beyond me sometimes. Na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na, na 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 na. Na 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 na, na 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 na. If I could show you the way, if I could show you the way, show me the way. If I could show you the way, if I could show you the way, if I could show you the way, show me the way. If I could show you the sun in your eyes, if I could show you the way, show me the way, show me the way. If If I could show you the way.
Happy Monday.
Happy Monday. It's our
Psychic
favorite time of the week.
I love this time. And you know, it's getting bigger and bigger every Monday. And because what it's about is Psychedelic Monday. Psychedelic
right.
Monday. What it's all about, Michelle.
Just a casual hour for anybody to jump in and join Mark and I and talk about psychedelics, anything you like. We like to put topics out there each week, but jump on. Talk to us about anything you like.
Yeah, we're serious about this subject, but also unserious. You know, we're out here to get the education, the information, and the integration. You know, the most important part about these medicines, we feel, is the education. Right?
That's right. And so we have our podcast, which gets released every Wednesday, and that's a bit more serious, right? But this Monday nights is just for fun for us
This
to
is
hang
kind
out.
of unserious. And we're going to talk about stigma today. What else?
I forgot.
He was playing that background. That was throwing me off. Jimmy.
The Jimmy.
We're going to be talking. We're going to be
Stigma,
diving into
success,
stigma. Science. You know,
Science.
because the science was there before the stigma was created. Then the stigma was created, right?
That's right. And then the success came after
And
that.
then the success. Well, if we just kept the science, think how far advanced we'd be here. But you know, a lot of bad things the stigma has done for us back in the 60s. It started back in the 60s with Nixon, you know, the awareness was, there's a lot of science being.
Well, because what happened is the Vietnam War was started, and people in the United States started to make decisions of their own, saying, we're not going to go to war, we're not going to do these things. And at the time, they were taking LSD to open their minds, right? And so Nixon said, this is where I'm going to say there's a war on drugs, and put the war on drugs.
Yeah.
And that started it, almost 40 years
Of injustice.
of an injustice.
Of a really big injustice, because it's definitely coming back around now. And I think, you know, that's all we're here about. You know, in the last 3, 4, 5 years, these medicines have really come to the forefront. And I really think a lot of this had to do with COVID. COVID was a big
Game changer.
Big game changer for these medicines, because I think it gave you a lot of time to sit and to integrate some of these experiences.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, let's talk about one of our previous guests, and then somebody who shared their psychedelic story. One of our previous guests, she was a physician during the COVID. She was on the front lines in Denver, Colorado. And then the other day we heard from an ICU nurse who was also on the front lines during COVID. Yeah. Both of them were traumatized from what they did during COVID and went and did ayahuasca. I think one of them had done psilocybin, but they went and had their psychedelic journeys and had such profound experiences that Dr. Dana Lerman is now not practicing Western medicine, but she's opened up a psilocybin and ketamine clinic in Denver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
COVID was a time. It was a time for either people that were traumatized and found ayahuasca, or like you and I, we had our ayahuasca experience, but then had all this time to integrate it.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. But let's dive back into the stigma a little bit, because I think what's the stigma has really done us injustice for all of us in this country and across the world, you know, because these medicines have been around for eons and eons and eons, you know, and, you know, I think there was going to be some articles we're going to put up here, but, you know, back in the 60s, they really put a really big niche in this whole thing. And
well, that's when it started.
Shifting.
And then Reagan picked it up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Remember the 80s when there were all the commercials? I know we talk about this all the time, but remember the one, this is your brain on drugs, and it was an egg, and then they cracked it open, put it in the frying pan, and ooh, scary, right? Yeah. Nobody wanted to do any psychedelics after that.
Yeah, because they really scared. The media really scared us into that, and then because the government made that fear factor became really apparent, you know.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think they were trying to do that? Was it just all about control?
A few different reasons. I think it's mostly they didn't want people making up their free minds, right? Yeah. And then also at that time, Big Pharma was introduced. And of course, if people are being healed by these natural plants and
Right.
it's a 1 to 5 time only, or they take a pill, then they're a patient for life.
Hmm. There was definitely two
The
big
stigma
entities.
was made.
Two big entities were in play together, and they came together really in a huge force. I mean, they're a huge force right now, both of them together, the government and Big Pharma. I mean, they really are controlling factors. And it's kind of a shame, but with the education that we're putting out there and so many others are putting out there, things are really, really, really changing.
Well, people are waking up and
Mhm.
starting to understand that we've been lied to,
Yeah.
and you've been lied to, and psychedelics are not some big scary thing, but they're actually incredible mental health therapy.
Therapy. They're therapeutic.
Yeah.
Very, very healing, beneficial. There's so many benefits around these medicines. And I think with all these studies, I think there's about 200 studies going on right now across the country. And
Yeah,
everywhere.
Johns Hopkins is their Center for Psychedelic and Consciousness Research. There's actually a center that they have for that, is leading the way in exploring innovative treatments using psilocybin, backed by $55 million in funding. Researchers build on previous work and expand research on psychedelics for illness and wellness.
And that's a big player. That's a big player in the space with studying of these
Yeah,
medicines.
for sure. Johns Hopkins is definitely one of the leading ones, but they've just started with psilocybin, and then you've got other studies like Stanford, who does study with the vets
The Iboga.
for the iboga and bufo
Yeah, and the-
alvarius.
And then all John Hopkins is always doing the MDA studies. But, for the most part, I really do believe, and I think Michelle believes, and most of us believe in the Western world, it's going to really lead to psilocybin. Psilocybin's really going to be, I think, the mental health.
But how do we feel about that? How do we feel about it once it becomes that way? Because here's the thing, as wonderful it is, because people are waking up and starting to understand. Let's look at Oregon right now. My good friend Jenna, our good friend Jenna
Yeah.
Clue, is in Oregon. She is a therapist. She's licensed, and now she has just opened up a psilocybin clinic. Yeah. And I do believe right now the cost is about $2,000. I don't know what it is for her place, but in general, if you were to go get a psilocybin therapy in Oregon, it's going to cost a couple $1,000s.
Yeah.
I mean, that's crazy.
It is. It is insane. But
It's crazy.
that's how they're going to be coming out with. That's how they're going to have to introduce these medicines. I think also ketamine therapy is up in that range too. The injections of ketamine, and then MDMA is going to be next, and here we're going to have psilocybin. So, I guess to answer your question, I guess you can inform people that they can really do this medicine on their own. I wouldn't suggest going big journeys on psilocybin or MDMA. I definitely always suggest sitters, somebody really educated in this space, and that space is really blowing up now. I mean, the psilocybin psychedelic integration coaches and whatnot. It's pretty amazing. I think we got
We
somebody.
have a joiner. We got some turn
Got a little
around.
vibration there.
Okay, if you can. She's on a
We got a
big delay.
delay here, Brian.
Yeah. Okay, there we go. Now we're
that's
now we're
better.
Now we're
cooking.
cooking. Do we have a guest right now? We
have
don't
a
really have
guest.
any joiners. This is like our first joiner this
Love
week.
this. Can you hear us? Kobe.
Oh, she has her put her headphones in. There we go. Okay. Let me put her.
So,
I'm being very fancy right now.
very
You're
fancy.
very
So-
fancy. Kobe Cook.
So tonight we're talking a little bit about stigma around psychedelics and how it's damaged these, how it hasn't damaged the space, but how it's created such a scared awareness of these medicines.
Yeah, and you're from Australia, right?
Yes.
And you're about our age. I think you're a little bit younger than we are, but the same stigma was
Thank
it the same thing in Australia? Because I'll tell you, the commercial that was here when we were growing up in the 80s was there was an egg and a frying pan, and they cracked the egg onto the frying pan and said, "This is your egg, this is your brain, and this is your brain on drugs." And that stuck with me forever.
Yeah.
And then they had one of a woman jumping out a window.
Yeah.
Jumping out a
and
window.
they said this, right? Remember that? And they said this is what LSD does to you. So was it the same? when you were growing up?
Brian, I think that's when Michelle was doing LSD.
That was
think-
later.
We find out all the secrets on this podcast, I hear. That's why I'm joining. It was really similar. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. It was really similar. And actually, to go a step further, not just with the drugs part, but the therapy or integration part it was seen as, are you mental? Is something wrong with you? Why you got to inquire? Why you got to go inside? And so it was the other people do that. And in fact, when I moved here, ironically, there was a lot of welcoming of therapy, of inquiry. And I've been living here about 30 years, and there's been a lot more openness, from the time I was growing up, though. So, yes, there was along the way. And I didn't quite fit in. So that says something.
Well, I think that's the most important part about these medicines, the therapy, is that integration. And I think that's what we really missed with the stigma. I mean, when they created the stigma, we missed all that. We just said, "Oh, look what these people are doing. They're going crazy. They're doing." But hey, half it could have been so much shit we don't even know. So we didn't learn the most important part about these medicines, and that's all the integration. The integration is the key to all this. So
It's true, Mark.
And we also
yeah.
go ahead. No, but we also know that the stigma is there and the science is here. So we'll talk about both of these a little bit.
Yeah. I wanted to say that sometimes it's not the stigma as well in regard to asking people when they'll say, have you integrated? Are you interested in integrated? And there are times when people don't know what that means. And so sometimes distilling that information or saying and explaining what that might be, even in your daily life, people are going within, they're wondering, and sometimes using other language to describe what integration is can be powerful, because as soon as you explain it in a different way, it pops in. And so then people are more willing because they're less afraid of that, of the words, those fancy words, or those words people use on retreats or, doing this. It's for everybody, whether you're doing plant medicine, shadow work, or just in your daily life. Just making that inquiry within.
We say that all the time. It's not about just the plant medicines. I mean, we really, really believe that plant medicines are the catalyst. They give you that catalyst, but it's just all about getting out of your consciousness. It's about what you just said, breath work, shadow work. Shadow work is a deep, deep, deep work. Shadow work is working on you, those parts of you that are just...
Yeah, what is that
So,
exactly?
Let's Kobe explain.
Kobe is
Kobe
the
was
shadow
very
work.
good at shadow work.
Yeah. She's our shadow queen.
How do you spell your name, Kobe?
Thank you. I would say princess, but thank you.
How do you
I
spell
don't mind
Kobe?
being the queen on many things. Princess is the learning. And Mark, I like how you describe it, and are really interested and proud of that. I think integration or doing that deep dive, if you have support around that, a really good friend, someone you trust, and a coach, or you go to a retreat or anywhere, just taking a moment to go within. And with plant medicine, it can add and enhance, but you can do it in so many different ways as long as you're willing to do a little bit of that deep dive. Then the things you find out, the things you learn, because you can do it recreationally and realize things, but you don't always know where to take that. And so that inquiry just between both you and Mark and Michelle, when you talk to each other even and ask those questions, then it's like, I see. Oh, yeah. So sharing that is really key, and working with it. And you can get to some very scary, amazing places that you both, you're aware of. But that deep inquiry, that question of what's going on for me right now? What just happened?
Right.
What
I
did I
mean,
experience?
What does it feel like?
You realize a man
Yeah.
like we'll put somebody out there like Joe Dispenza. Joe Dispenza doesn't work with psychedelics at all, zero. And the powerful experiences people have with him through breath work, just through breath alone at where you get. It's pretty amazing, but we don't give ourselves this opportunity in this world we live in. Even I don't give myself this opportunity too much anymore, but it's how we integrated in the beginning, now, and forever. I mean, I still believe in the breath, and I still
I
believe
heard
that's the most important.
I heard somebody say one time just recently, who was it? Maybe it was Michelle last week. She said integration. I said, what does integration mean to you? And she said, feeling. It's feeling
Yeah.
all the feelings,
Sure.
sitting in those feelings. And that really is it at the end of the day. I thought that was a pretty brilliant way
True.
to talk about it. Well, let's talk about shadow work for a minute.
Yeah.
Can you describe what that is, what that looks like?
I can do it in a really simple way, because I could have the science beside me, as Mark says, and a lot of the meaning. I think what it is that if you'll notice, just if you're sitting with yourself, something's happening in the day. I've heard the example of you're driving the car and you're just you're just driving and something interrupts that. Someone drives in front of you and you just get really angry and some part of you pops up. So what the shadow work is the parts of you that are either conscious for you and you say, oh yeah, I know that about myself, oh wow, yeah, or you say, I don't know where that came from. And so it's the parts that are unconscious, that are underneath. And then when you do some of the work to start noticing what those parts are saying, they've had insight sometimes from a really, really young age. Sometimes they're young. Some parts of us are young. And when you say, how are you doing? They're not developed or able to verbalize. So it's, as you said, Michelle, feelings. Feelings will come up. So it's a mix of feelings, thoughts, and parts of yourself that are unconscious that maybe don't get a chance to see the light of day. And that's part of what the meaning of shadow is. It's the underneath. And it can be really scary and it can be very, very difficult to work with, but also the chance to touch those places. And again, the word integration comes up, but bring them together to speak to each other with, support or from a friend, from a coach, from a retreat. You start to realize why some of things happen or why you act the way you do. And then you have more control, more deciding on, what you want to say, how do you want to say it, and not go, oh my God, why did I say that? Why did that happen? And you're not as surprised by it.
So would you say that shadow work has very similar to like Tony Robbins' work, what he does?
So I've only, yes, from my understanding, I haven't worked with Tony Robbins at all. I've maybe been to one of his very short things. And, someone mutual that we know has worked with him for many years. I think what Tony does is definitely, with the techniques he has and the understanding and the compassion and love, actually, is to tap into the parts that are not recognized, that you push aside, that you don't want to hear about, that the darker sides, but it's all of you that you get to bring out and bring forward. And you can do that with some very good coaching retreats. And honestly, I've done it with friends, I've made inquiries about, what's that like for you? What part of you, if you start using that language, what part of you is speaking right now? What part of you was sad when you fought with your husband, daughter? What was that like? And you just start sitting with who's speaking, who's saying something. It's a part of you. Sometimes, the stigma part, there are times when people have not appreciated and, had a lot of stigma around talking about parts. They're like, whoa, what's going on here? What do you mean parts? We're just a person. Don't get all dramatic about it. But growing up in Australia, that was common. It's just noticing who's speaking, what's going on. It could be simple, but then you can do deeper work. And it's some of the most astounding work that I've seen people do with support and encouragement and skills that are brought forth. And it brings you a lot more awareness so that, when you're in a regular life, and because you have to apply life, you're talking to a customer service person, and normally you might react in like 3 seconds. Well, when you start realizing what's bothering you, what's going on, and you have more connection to it, it's really connected with you. You have about 15 or 20 seconds to answer. So you're able to honor an answer or deal with a situation with more consciousness or awareness.
So don't you think this is more like inner child work too?
Yes, absolutely. Yes,
So
yes, yes.
I've done some shadow work. I've gotten onto Stevens. I used to do his calls, and it's not easy. It's really not easy at all. It's pretty difficult, and you have to be pretty vulnerable.
Don't say that word, Michelle. Vulnerability is so scary for people. It is scary, because to be vulnerable is to re-expose or bring back things that you're not wanting to think about, remember, or feel. And we spend a lot of time masking or managing ourselves. But it comes up. Shadow work is about noticing what comes up even when you don't want it to. And so you have a little bit more access to what's happening. Even if you can't stop saying what you need to say, you still say it. But
yeah,
it is inner child work and IFS, inner family systems, which are those parts that I had someone describe this. Oh, it's in a book. The inner orphanage. It's the inner home for children. And they're all in there, and they all want time. And some listen, some are quiet, and some are just go, let it out. It's
I love that.
caring for those children.
Yeah, and then you go and you like what plant medicines really did is it really helped you navigate those children quite, like you said in the beginning, it's kind of terrifying going and seeing your old self as an adult, and that's once you can really dive in there and get comfortable with that person who you once were,
Exactly.
you kind of go back. And I mean, how I kind of did that was I coddled that person when you were that age, and you coddle, and you understand. And if you break down the tears or you do what you need to do at that moment, and if you are breaking down in tears, I think it really means that you are doing some work, because that's where the pain is. And once you overcome those tears and that pain, I think there's a relief. Now you got one over with. Now you go back and visit the next dude and the next one and the next dude. And then you visit each age, and you keep kind of going back and redoing this cycle because it never ends. You still have to go visit that child because that's all we are.
Yeah, I mean, this is Brian behind the scenes.
Hey, Brian.
Hey, Brian behind the
Jimmy.
scenes.
Jimmy.
Jimmy.
Has anyone had one version of themselves their whole life? I mean, you're constantly learning and changing and growing. I mean,
Well, every 7 years, your cells regenerate. So you regenerate, you morph into almost a new person every 7 to 8 years. They say,
yeah,
science says.
that's what I've experienced at least.
Yeah, you do. So I mean, those are good times to really, but you never know when they're going to happen. You can count back 7, but those are good times to really navigate your life.
Absolutely. I mean, and I think shadow work is great work for future things to come. And let me explain that. Like if you're doing some shadow work, okay, and how I remember it is you name it and you name what it looks like and what color it is and where you feel it and stuff like that. So if you're doing that, right, then the next time that situation comes up for you and you get those feelings, because once you really navigate that and have to name it and really have to name it, that was the hard part for me, was finding it in my body. Where do I feel it? How do I name it? Blah, blah, blah. Once you do that, then it seems like maybe the next time if a similar situation arises and you start to feel that pit in your gut or whatever it is, by recognizing that, maybe it helps you in the future. What do you think about that?
That's absolute, Michelle. That's absolutely true. Um, and just anything you do, if you're noticing that feeling of, you name it individually. So it's say it's you're feeling it in your belly, and when something's going on and you're feeling it, you say, "Oh, okay, I'm getting that feeling," and it's noticing it and being okay with it coming up a little, because I have to say, myself and others, not a fan of feeling those feelings. Not a fan. And in fact, you can be a prolific, giving, compassionate coach or someone who supports others and don't want to feel those feelings. You don't even know where they are in your body. And so when you start noticing those things, you can have access to them and you can understand. And usually have to have a reason, like if it's scary, just like having plant medicine experiences, if it's scary, but you have this, we call it intention, but this goal or this wanting to be different, for think, who am I? Why do I feel this way? Those questions can be addressed in all the things we're talking about and more. And everybody can have a a way to do this. It's not one way. It's not this way. Oh, everyone do this or that. Mark, you've had experiences that have been profound for you. Mine, I've had others. And here we are today, compassionately and caringly wanting to do this. But we had our journeys, not, our life journeys, and we came to this place. And you still, I think we still will work on things. And I wanted to say, those parts of you that you visit, you said something really true. When you go in and start inquiring about the parts that haven't been talked to, cared for, since an experience took place and they were developed and then were stuck, when you go back, it's a part of you saying, "Oh my gosh, you left me here," or "How scary was that?" And you sit with that part of you, or it's you, it can bring an enormous amount of relief, an enormous amount of acknowledgement. And the more you acknowledge your parts, you're not asking someone else to do that and not getting disappointed by others not hearing you, not caring for you. You're like, why can't you be there for me? And we externally go to that place when, in fact, if we could support those parts, slowly, slowly, and in a big way, then you might be surprised at you could be that resource for you. But often we ask others to do that for us, and it's disappointing because they don't know those parts that have longings and needs. So,
Well,
but we
because I
can get
feel
there in
that,
different ways.
yeah, because I think most of us come to this medicine because we know how to feel trauma. We know how to deal with trauma, right? We don't know how to deal with joy. So if we're dealing with trauma and we're dealing with trauma all the time, that's comfortable. That's
It's
really
familiar.
comfortable. It's very familiar. Dealing with joy, we don't know that shit. We haven't felt that shit ever. And some of us are 40, 50, 60 years old. And when you go back and you feel that joy, it's painful in two ways. So it's painful, like, because I guess because you've never felt that before, so it brings a lot of tears. I mean, I know in the beginning of my journeys, jids, I cried like for years, like my first couple of years. It was like incredible, but I think that's because it's so hurt and those pains come out, and that's how it came out for me, crying. And every time it got less and less and less and less.
Do you think that it's also has to do with the fact that you don't think you're deserving of that joy?
Of course.
And so it's the first time that you're feeling deserving of it, or I do the same thing, and there's times, and they don't really happen anymore, but where I'm like, I don't have anything to worry about, so I'm going to go look for something to worry about. I don't have anything because it's familiar. And so maybe we feel like we don't deserve that joy, and then the more we realize that we do, it becomes more comfortable.
It does. You're right. And say we've worked all the things out, we might still be attached to going to look and help others, not us, but help others, because that's what we're familiar with. That's what we wanted all along, is to be cared and needed and or cared for and protected and feel safe. So if we don't get it ourselves, we'll go possibly and go look and help someone else. When someone comes to you and wants to help you, that is so unfamiliar, so uncomfortable, and some of us will do anything to not let that happen. But in fact, that's the very thing that we need, and to take the time to do. So if nothing else, some of this takes a long time. Sometimes you get really huge aha moments, and then sometimes you think you're all set, and then the wife or husband will say something, and you're like, "Oh my God, I thought I was all done with this."
Yeah, but isn't it
That's
really
the
cool
worst.
how you just said it though? Because that's exactly right. That you have sometimes when you're on this path, you'll have these aha moments, and you stupid ass, how the fuck you been thinking this way for 40 years? And sometimes that same thing that you should know takes so much longer, and it's so weird, but it comes and it keeps coming, and then you shed each of those layers, and then layers like I used to be this big of a fucking onion. Now I'm like this. I still got layers. I used to be a blooming onion. Now I'm just like fucking onion
Like
straw,
a red onion.
like an onion straw now. So I just think you just start peeling these layers and layers and layers, and then you just become happy with yourself. And who cares? And it doesn't matter because it doesn't matter, does it?
I'm still one of those people that still thinks it matters or doesn't. Yeah. And it could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday that you're all set. And Wednesday will set you off, and someone will say to you, God, I think you did all that plant medicine. You've got, did anything change? And then that sets you off. It's it's just putting it in place and noticing, like you said that, Mark, when you said, notice the joy. Notice when you're doing well. Notice when, wow, I'm not worried right now. That's that inner inquiry with nobody around that you ask. Ask that.
Yeah.
How, I mean, the most powerful question you can ask is, I think, is like if I was asking, Mark, how are you doing today? Just kind of checking in for a moment, even not the big work, just a little check in that I will say either, how are you doing? I like to say my name. How are you doing, Kobe? I had no idea, and I didn't remember to do that very often. And that's the one thing that I've retained along the way. And that
I
helps
never
me.
do that.
Yeah. It's really important, Michelle, because if you're not doing that, you're waiting for someone else to ask, and it's never going to meet. It might meet some of it, or finding very, very good friends where you can truly ask them, how are you? And they can all ask you, and you'll be able to answer. And some of that vulnerability will be taken care of. Some of that
In,
vulnerability
in today's
will
age,
be
it doesn't
helped.
really. The first response you get is what? Good,
Fine.
fine,
Fine.
good.
Good.
I'm honest. I say I'm fucking shit. I'm horrible.
I
I just
love
tell people like it is.
Yes,
I'm
yes.
trying.
Right, Brian? I tell
That's
them like
right.
it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it more important to verbalize it in your head, like out loud, on paper? What is the best method to be able to do that?
Brian, I love that question. Thank you so much. I'm going to be not facetious here and say this. It's absolutely trying each of those things out.
Mm.
When whatever you notice, you know, when you ask that question, if saying it out aloud is powerful or helpful to you, even in a small way, then go with that. Or if you need to write it down, I know people that journal that,
Mm.
and then they will answer that question and answer it honestly. The idea is that you do it, and you do it daily and as much as you can remember. And Stephen, one of our mutual people we like and respect, the coining the phrase remembering to remember is one of the most difficult things to do, because you can have these plans and intentions. But Brian, to answer, it's try a few of those ways out.
Hmm.
Try to see. So for me, it's I'm walking along, and I go, hang on. Oh, okay, I didn't remember. So, and it's not forced. It's, Kobe, what do you need right now? And at first, I didn't get an answer. it's because nobody in there was used to being asked that question. And then a couple of them like, could we have a shower today? I'd like a snack. Just the little things. Or if something traumatic is going
cake.
on, it's practicing. So Brian, try them all out, and each one will work in a different way for you or for someone else. But I found something, and in 2 years, that's probably my biggest thing I've held on to, because not all of it you can hold,
Yeah, it's
you
true.
know. But it's the one, Brian, that works for you. It's really important.
So it's not like a vaccine, right?
No, no
And,
vaccines here.
and practice,
Vaccines on this show.
There's different ways to
practice
approach it.
asking it to other people. You know, when you check in, I think I moved here and people would say, "Hey, Kobe, what's up?" And I'd go to tell them and they'd go, "Why are you answering me?" Kind of like you, Mark.
Rhetorical.
But
Okay.
ask people, just practice saying, "How are you? How are you?" And just wait for the answer, because practicing that will give you the memory to do it for you.
Pretty
But-
good.
Yeah.
Great
pretty
answer.
good.
How many dogs you got, Kobe? I see like 3 or 4 dogs
yeah.
walking
See 'em.
there.
Let's
Oh,
see 'em.
you know what? On this little Zoomy thing, I
wanna
couldn't put
see
the
'em.
background on. I
Like a
have
white
two.
dog, a brown dog. It's all these
I
dogs.
just do.
Okay.
And I have a bigger dog. I'm sorry. On Zoom regular, you can
Don't be sorry.
cover it up. You know, you can make it a
We,
little
we love
blurry.
fur friends. I see them. I see them now.
Well, thank you, Kobe, so much for being on tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank
we
you,
love
Kobe.
Cobes.
That was
I
great.
loved it. Thank you. This is fun. I think I might do this again. You know.
Yeah.
Please,
Cool shit.
anytime. Listen, anytime. This is what we do this
Yeah.
for. You
Wait.
know, just to come on and talk, and it's for people to talk about whatever they want psychedelics. I mean, we try to put topics out there, but it's really just an hour for people to talk about whatever they like.
We need
And I
you.
like that Brian's around there. I mean, I didn't
Yeah.
see him, but I'm like, ooh, who's Brian?
Yeah,
And we got
Brian-
we got
Brian-
Shayna
I tell
now.
Brian he's like our Robin of the what's
Like
the
Howard
show?
Stern.
Yes, thank
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
Shayna.
yeah.
Shayna's here too. Kobe.
Shayna's got Florida.
Hi,
Yeah.
Kobe.
See, I'll just say that I love, like all of us, we have background people that nobody knows about, and they support us and help us. I have a few of those. All right, thank you.
Thank you,
so
Chow
much.
Chow.
so much for coming
So
on. Come
fun.
back.
Thank you.
Love
All
you.
right.
Ciao, ciao.
Okay, bye.
Well, that was a cool little guest there, huh?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
You
She
know,
was really cool.
You know, we
sometimes,
should do.
sometimes we have more than one person watching.
Yeah, sometimes we do. Oh, God. I think we should do a. We should do a.
Shayna needs to do better at promoting on this.
All right, it's Shayna's fault. Shayna does 400.
We got Kobe up there. Wait, did you see
Kobe?
Kobe? Kobe was looking.
Listen, I love the shadow work thing. I think that we need to.
I do too.
We should probably do a.
We should have Steven tweet. He promotes in our group enough for free. We should probably have him come on the show for free.
We should, because and like do a shadow work, Brian. Maybe we could get you to do it.
Yeah.
And yeah, we did this when we first started our podcast. We were so stupid though, and we had him do a shadow work with somebody online. But it'd be much cooler now because we
Was
have
that
you and
coffee
Shayna.
talk?
Oh God! Oh my God! Coffee talk.
Coffee talk.
But we would have some. We would have you do it, Brian. Would you want to and
Yeah,
actually
sure.
go through a shadow
I would love to.
experience with him?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I would love
okay,
that.
cool. He'll do it too. He'll take you through the whole thing, and you just sit there and you do like you go through and you find it and you where do you feel it, and it's
pretty
not
cool.
easy, but it's really cool stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'll like
I've,
it.
I've done mindful meditation before. Is that similar?
It's not similar.
Yeah,
it's
I
really
mean-
you're getting down. We should get him on the show. We should do it.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
should
we'll
do it.
definitely get Stephen Twig on it and do it. He's really good. He used to be.
We could get his group, and then we'd have like
he's-
12 people.
He was Tony Robbins.
Tony Robbins, yeah.
protege.
He was. He
He
loves
was his
Tony
protege,
Robbins.
and so they worked together for many years. And so then
Tony Robbins.
he started. So he was doing Tony Robbins work, and then he started doing shadow work, and now he's like the shadow work king, and he goes all over the country and does shadow work.
Tony Robbins.
awesome.
He's a pretty funny guy. I watched him one time. He's
funny?
He made this lady. He did. This
never watched
lady
him.
was in this audience, and he made her call her. She didn't like
Call
the
who?
guy she was with. Okay, so there's this audience of 10,000 people. She made her call him and break up with him on the phone. I thought it was classic.
I never watched him.
He's
Oh, I
pretty
think I
loudmouth.
saw that. Yeah.
You think I'm loud? He's loud.
He's loud.
Oh yeah.
Well, he
I kinda
wasn't he
like
like
that.
6'4" or something like that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's,
he's
a
a good
very
guy.
big man.
Yeah.
And you know what's funny is Stephen Tuig is a very tiny man. Like
Yeah.
he's like my size. Like he's
Yeah,
a
like-
very small man. And his partner's
like a midget. What's that? What's that show we watch?
You are not allowed to say
What's
that
that
word.
show?
Do not say that
What's
Do we
word.
have
that
to
show we
dump
watch?
that?
Though?
God.
The My Little Family. Who are those people we watch?
Little people. They're
Yeah.
called little people.
I love that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, the TLC show, right?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
I get a kick out of
I
those.
do
They're so badass. You know?
They are badass.
Mark, but listen, there's words that you're allowed to say. There's words you're not
Take the
allowed
camera
to
off of
say.
Mark.
And that one you're not allowed to say.
I'm gonna take the camera off of Mark for a little bit.
Yeah, please. There needs to be a mute button for sure.
Remember that song back in the 70s, Short People?
No. Yes. Everybody sang it to me.
How did that song
They
go?
did.
Yeah, how did that
I don't
song go,
remember
Mark?
that one.
Short people
People
got
got
no reason to
to-
live.
Pretty cryptic.
That's what it is. Short people have no reason to live. That's
who
the
sang
fucking
that?
name of the song.
My dad traumatized my mom with that back in the 70s. That's why I think I am the way I am. He played that a repeat.
Okay, so the women in Mark's family are I don't know why we're getting off.
Like my mom's
They are
4'3".
tiny. Like I'm a small person, and people that always see me are like, "Oh my God, you're like a little person." No. These women are. I tower over them. They are the tiniest, cutest little women.
Wow.
Like my mom could be a bat.
Bat. What does that even mean?
She is a bat.
Knock her out at the park.
She vicious.
Oh, to
Sorry, I
God,
learned
she's
it from-
watching this.
She would never.
Never.
She's one of those that learned in the 60s that these are really bad.
Oh, they're drugs.
Even though
She and your dad. Both
even though they've
drugs.
seen like this whole transformation, these are still drugs.
She said that they're embarrassed that we're the mushroom people.
Yeah, but not they're not anymore. They gave us mushrooms for Christmas. Not real mushrooms, ceramic mushrooms.
We gave them real mushrooms. We brought chocolate this year to Christmas.
Michelle, now they know.
Yeah, you
This is
started.
going downhill quick.
Are we still on?
Oh,
I
yeah,
guess
yeah, we're
it's-
still on. We're still on.
Okay. Well, we talked. What we talked about tonight?
The
Stigma.
science. Now let's talk about the success. We talked about the
Much
the stigma.
success. And one great thing about success, we show success all the time through our
psychedelic
plant medicine
story.
path,
Mhm.
psychedelic stories.
Mhm.
People can share their psychedelic stories. You know,
Let's hear your psychedelic story real quick.
Yeah.
Seriously,
Mine's long.
just quick one. Recap.
I did psychedelics,
What brought you though?
trauma, years of trauma, years. Came to psychedelics. Never did psychedelics before.
Never
Right.
high school, nothing.
I think I took shroom tea one time. Scared me. Really scared me. Then I started smoking a lot of weed because that scared me so much. so then I got I just about the age of 50, maybe a little earlier than that, because I'm only 52. So I was like,
Liar.
it
Liar.
was like I jumped into this because I was just really depressed. Couldn't get out of that
And
funk.
COVID.
And that really catapulted everything.
But where did you hear the word ayahuasca the
I
first
don't know,
time? Like,
man.
where did you hear
You know,
about
I
it?
guess I dove so deep into like search and stuff. Like, what is
You
gonna,
are a searcher.
Sure, what is going to get me off this? Like, got me off this crazy train. And ayahuasca came up so many times. And then I saw this church in Orlando. I just went. It was just crazy.
I'm always amazed, Brian and Shayna, like at the people that just come, because I came to ayahuasca through my children's father. He went first. I would have never had the courage to go and do this, I don't think, like if I didn't know somebody that had done it. I'm amazed at people that just show up to ayahuasca.
Yeah, it's
and
really
didn't
brave.
know anybody that did it before.
Mhm.
I guess after your last hope, you just do it. And that was probably it. That was probably the last hope. I was like, what the hell? So life sucks. So it's just miserable.
So you went to Soul Quest.
Yeah, I did. I went to Soul Quest, and then that was probably a really bad experience. My first
The
experience.
first time?
Yeah,
Tell
'cause
us about it.
it was trippy, man. It was just like I get out of there, you know. I stayed that next one night and I left the
Yeah,
next
you make
day.
me laugh though the way you tell it.
Yeah, I kind of just, they were all freaking me out. I thought they were a bunch of monks. And I said, listen, I got to get the hell out of here. So I left.
Bunch of monks.
And about 3 weeks later, I found myself back at the same place. And I was like, something really happened. And they were like, I'm back. And then after that, it was just like all
like-
in.
You're like Norm from Cheers at that point.
Yeah, everybody comes in. They're like,
Everybody knows your name.
they
Yeah,
do.
it's like every
They all
weekend.
know him.
I really dove into these medicines
Mark!
because it was like the only thing I found that made me happy, you know? And I dove in hard in the beginning. Like I drank a lot of medicine, but then I kind of realized the medicine wasn't it, you know? I was like, this ain't it. And doing a lot of work. And that was it.
But you went and volunteered a lot. So you guys, they have it SoulQuest. If
Yeah.
you can go and volunteer, and it really is a beautiful system. And you do get so much out of volunteering. It's a service, and it's, you know, it's like having ceremony, but you're not drinking the medicine. And Mark would go and he volunteered every weekend for a year straight.
Mhm.
And I was living in Colorado and he was in Florida, and we were just friends, and he would call me on his way up there. And it's hard work volunteering. It is not easy work. You're up. You don't sleep hardly the whole time, and you're cleaning up throw up. And I mean, it's hard work. It's not pretty work at all. And he would go every weekend, and he called me this last time, and he's like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I'm tired. I don't want to do this.
It was
And I
like 52 weeks in a row. I
Then
was like,
stop going. Stop doing
52
it.
weeks.
And he was like, oh, okay. He just fucking turned around and went home.
I said, went home. Nora said, you're not coming? I said, no,
No.
I quit the volunteer. They go,
Michelle
but
told me not to.
you're like here every weekend helping people. You know, and I think that was my time to separate and move forward. So I moved forward and I started doing this. And I think this is more important because when I was there at SoulQuest, I always saw the inadequacy for these medicines. I mean, 100 people going there every
The
weekend.
support.
And you were just thrown out to the wolves. You see these great transformations, people just lit up. You know they're gonna like have these experiences. They do it right, and they were going out to nothing. They didn't have the education. I mean, I was talk to people like every weekend. I would have people call me and try
But
to.
I mean, I
integrate
gotta
with
say
them.
though, compared to some retreat centers out there,
They did better. They
did
better.
a ton. They had a
Yeah.
ton of support. I mean, they had pre-integration, they had post-integration, and nowhere else had that.
No, what they did for veterans, you know, I just think
Mhm.
there was nothing that did this, nothing that catapulted me like that. And just after it, it was just pretty amazing. Then I got, you know, because there was other medicines after that. I said like 5-MeO and
What was the next medicine you did?
5-MeO.
Mhm.
And Iboga was the life changer. But we don't really do medicines a lot. You know, I mean, me and Michelle, I mean, I microdose, but besides that, I mean, big medicine journeys, I haven't done in a year. I mean, we're going to go on one in July.
Well, that's not true. We went to Costa Rica 4
Yeah.
months ago.
Yeah, that
5
was
months ago.
yes, about 6 months ago. Yeah.
Drank ayahuasca, and then we're going to Brazil. Oh, let's talk about the tribe really quick. So our tribe that
tribe's
we
in
support
trouble.
out there, and I think we're going to do a little recording on Wednesday, but the Shawanawa tribe, Acre 24 in Brazil, they had a really bad flood, and their entire village is underwater. And Mana and Janaya told us the other day that this is only the second time in their entire history that they've had floods like this.
And we're going to really try to help them. You know, we do give 5% of everything.
Here they are. See?
Yeah.
Everything's
So-
underwater. They don't have any clean drinking water. They're having to get their drinking water from the 5-gallon jugs. So we're gonna get a cost on those. There's the jugs. This is what they have to drink out of, and then all of their washing clothes, everything is happening in the river, which is muddy and a mess. They've had to move up to higher land. It is such a sad situation, you guys. It really is very
You know,
sad.
and, you know, we all don't think about this.
Look at
but,
this.
Yeah.
I mean, these are
I
their
mean,
homes.
We all don't think about things like this because we live in these concrete jungles. I mean, we live in these concrete homes. These, you know, we have our air conditioner, we have our food, we have our refrigerator.
And when we have a natural disaster, we have FEMA.
we have FEMA. I mean, these people
Look at
don't have
this.
anything, you know, and these
Nothing,
people,
you guys.
It's kind of sad.
So their well has been demolished, so they need to dig a new well, and they actually need 2 of them. And I forget the exact prices. It's about $3,500, I believe. But we're going to put something together and put it on the plant medicine path and Mama Dose Medicine with the Metals. We're going to put it everywhere to really try and help these folks.
And of course, this all comes from just destroying the forest. This
It's
really comes
all
from,
man-made. This is
all
all a
caused by
man
man.
disaster.
There's no doubt.
That's
It's all man.
crazy. Look at that. Wow.
It's so sad. So the way Janaea, I never say her name right, so I just say Janaea. The way that she was describing it, and it's her husband Mana, we had him on a couple of weeks or like a month ago, but he is the medicine man of their village. Everything's destroyed. All their crops are destroyed. Everything. But she said that without a doubt that this is due to the way that that man is living, and that we have to teach man how to live less aggressively, is the way she put it.
And that, that might not happen in our world or either another world, but we just have to be aware that this is still in our world. Things like this,
And they don't
are
know.
still
Nobody
in our
else
world.
knows this is happening because they're in the middle of the Brazil and the Amazon forest, and there's nobody there to help them. So we're going to help them. Yeah, we'll put it more out there this week on the plant medicine path. We're going to put something together.
Well, pretty great show today again. I like the Psychedelic Mondays.
Yep.
Every day they get a little better and better
This was
every
fun.
Monday.
So Monday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. You can just let us know if you want to come on, and we'll send you the link. Or you could just jump on, and we can send you the link while you're on.
Definitely. We'll have a new guest next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, this was fun. Go to Medicine with the Metals. Subscribe, please, our YouTube channel. Anything else?
Gotta say ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao. It's
Jimmy.
ciao, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.